basically designing a Unity UI for your game. It's a pretty basic UI that would contain a start menu. Let me show you once. So when we click on play, it would load up a screen. Currently it's empty. That would be your main scene of your game. Then if you press escape button, that would cause your screen to pause. Then there would be three options: resume, restart, quit. And similarly, on hitting play, let's say your game ends. That would be signified by the enter key in this case, since this game is empty. So how to work with Unity terrains, and then it would be followed by some lighting and post-processing. Create a new scenes. Let's name this menu UI. Drag this onto the panel, and then let's unload this so that we don't face any problem. Then let's go to UI. Let's make a canvas. You can see as soon as I create a canvas, an event system is automatically generated here. Let's move it to 2D so that we can work with canvas 2D well. Let's focus this. Now on the right side, you would see in the inspector that the render mode is screen space overlay, that you would leave it at default, and then target display 1, that is okay. In UI scale mode, what you should do is, since we want your game to be compatible with different sizes of monitors and displays, so you should always scale this with screen size. And since my monitor is 1920 into 1080, so I would set this as a reference and leave other things at default. Let's name this canvas something. Main menu. Okay. Now, since it's an empty canvas, now we would go to the UI and create a panel. Now, what you can do here is either you can apply solid color to the panel itself, or I chooses that I would go to the UI and then select an image. You are seeing there are two options, image and raw image. Basically, image renders only sprite, whereas raw image can render. If you want to include minimap in your game as well, then you should use raw image. For the moment, we are going with image. So now you're seeing this is the main menu, then the panel, and then image as its child. Now you can see this. So press the Alt key on your keyboard and then select this. That would scale it according to the panel itself. No need to scale it manually. Now, since the source image is empty now, so let's create a basic gradient for your pause menu. Just choose the source image. But before that, go to the background, move the texture type from default to sprite, 2D and UI. Then hit apply, leave all the things as it is. You would see a play button icon appearing here. That means your icon is now a sprite. Your image is now a sprite. Now let's again go to the image, source image, choose this background. Now you can see it's automatically applied and it's look pretty decent. Now we need to create the headings. So for that, go select the image, go to the UI again. You can use either the text or the text mesh pro, but since it's a basic tutorial, we are going to stick with the text. So it will be the header, name it as header. Go there, focus on this a bit. Okay,
The play button now.
Yes. So now we are working with the text now. The set it center align, middle adjustment, align measurement, leave everything else. Let's set the color to white. Let's make it bold. Pretty good. The size is also good, I guess. Move it up a bit. So now your header is created. And now let's again go to the image and let's now create some buttons to work with. So again, go to the UI, go to the button. Now you would be seeing that when you hit create a button, a child text is also created automatically. So the button that would be actually working, whereas the text is what you want to display on that button. Okay. So let's name this a play button. Let's size it a bit. I think this is good enough. Now for the text, you can write play, make the size 50, okay, sorry, 100, yeah, good. Again, you can make the changes, make it bold, change its color if you want.
Hello.
Yes.
Why can't we format all the text in Photoshop itself and import it directly afterwards?
Yeah, you can do that as well. You can just go to the button, then similarly choose the UI image option inside that button. Okay. Now an image is created. Then again, as I told, press the Alt key, select this option, the corner one. Then your image is resized as your button, and then in the source of your button, just drag and drop that you created in your Photoshop. Then you would not need to do all this stuff. Now In the inspector, you are seeing the button, right? Make sure the interactable is checked and the transition is set to color tint. So there are few other options as well, sprite swap, where you can add 2 or 3 sprites and add an animation, so that when you hover over the button size changes a bit, so that you get the idea that is it highlighted or not. But the most basic one is color tint. So when you move your mouse over the button, you would see the color of the button changing when it's highlighted. So for that, we set the normal color. Let's say we change the alpha to around 150. Okay, black is looking decent, I would say. You can change it. Now let's hit play. Now you will see like it's highlighted, the color is changing when I hover over it, right?
Okay.
Match with okay. So now let's do things quick. Let's duplicate this button so as to save our time. Now we can create a settings menu and a quit button. Just change, let's change the positions a bit. Settings, put down and quit. Okay, so we have a basic menu ready. Now we just need to add the functionality, right? Now the header is done, play button. So now we need to create a script for all these to work. So let's create a new folder. UI scripting. Let's go in here, create a new C# script. Let's name this main. Let's open this in Visual Studio. So to save the time, I have previously made this. So let's the main menu, open this one. Let's remove this all. First of all, we need to add a scene management. This header would include all the scene transitions. Now let's copy that. So here is the main menu. You can see it's quite simple. I would be running through the code. So this would work for the play button. This would work for the quit button. So here the code says scene manager dot load scene in brackets. You would give an integer value. That integer value is the build index of your game. Now what is build index? Let me tell you afterwards. Then inside the braces, screen manager get active scene, the scene which is active in the game dot build index, return the build index of that game plus 1. That is, when you press the play button, the scene would advance. Like let's say the let me do it in paint. No, leave it. Let's say your main menu is indexed as 0 and your game menu is indexed at 1. So you would move from 0 to 1 like you do it in array. So this is what we are telling there to do. In the quit game, just you need to do application.quit and it would quit the application. So in the game menu, it's not possible to show that. So we are printing this line debug.log quitting application. So whenever this line is displayed, it means that the quit game is working fine, right? Now, I forgot to save this. Now let's save this. Get back to Unity. Now add the script to the main menu canvas. Remember canvas, not the panels, the canvas. I will tell you why later on. Now, as we did, but since we have only one scene, let's load this as well, sample scene. Let's move it down, just for your better understanding. Now let's unload it. Menu UI. Now go to the files, go to the build settings. We see the scenes in build. Now currently it's blank. Now what was the build index? Now here comes the role of the build index. Just drag and drop the menu UI and the sample scene into the window. Now you can see the build index is being displayed here, 0 and 1 as I told you. So on clicking the play button, the scene would load from menu UI to sample scene, and that's what we are directing it to do. Now just leave it as it is. You can add further scenes from here, go to the build settings and add more scenes and arrange them according to your needs. Now we need to assign this to the buttons. So for that, here on click, that is the action that would be performing on click. So click the add button. Here choose the object. So the script that we gave was in main menu canvas. Go to the play again. Drag and drop the object into this. Now select the function, main menu. You can see here the main menu that we created from the script here. The main menu class. Choose the play game function as we created this for playing. Done. Now for the quit button, again do the same thing. Drag and drop the main menu canvas in here. Select the main menu class, select the quit game function. Now on hitting the play button, let's see if the scene changes or not. Now you can see the scene is getting changed, right? We have moved to the sample scene. You can see it in here. Sample scene is being loaded. Again, let's hit play and check if it quit is working or not. Let's open the console, quit. You can see quitting application. That means quit is working fine. Now for the settings. So you can either create a new scene for the settings, which is the worst possible way you should do it. The best way according to me would be, another way would be to create a new canvas and then interchange the canvas on clicking the settings. But the most optimized way according to me would be creating another panel in the same canvas. So to save time, just duplicate the panel as I do every time to save time. Settings panel, let's name this settings panel. Okay, now also the order in which it is displayed in the hierarchy is the order in which it would be rendered. So the settings panel would be rendered at the last. Okay, so you can either change the order from here itself to avoid any confusion, or you can do it from the script. What am I saying right now would be clear after this. You see the menu header is being overshadowed by the settings, but if I move the settings panel upwards, then menu is rendered at the last. So you can play it with here, or you can anytime do it from the script. We would be doing it from the script since we don't want the host to order every time we make a new panel. So in the settings panel, we won't require much. Let's move the other two buttons. Let's delete them. Just you can add your settings afterwards or any help box like that. For now, just making it a back button so as to get back to the main menu from here. Now what we would be doing is in the settings, go to the on click. We haven't created a function, right? We haven't created a function for settings in the script, right? So we don't need to actually. Just go to this, choose the panel. Since we are working with interchanging two panels, so select this panel, that is the main menu panel. Let's name this main menu panel first. Go to the settings, on click, choose this main menu, drop in here, go to the no function, go to the game object, set active bool. Now it would just tell you if your current game object would be active in the game scene or not. So if I check this, that means on clicking this button, the main menu would get activated, which we don't want. We want the main menu to get deactivated. So we uncheck this and we want settings panel to get activated. So we would do the same thing to this game object, set active bool, and now we would check this. So what would happen is on clicking the settings button, the main menu would get deactivated in the game scene and the settings panel would get activated. Now the reverse thing we would do for the settings panel. Let me activate. Yes.
Shouldn't we activate the settings panel first, then deactivate the menu panel?
It happens simultaneously. There is no time lag in between.
Okay.
Just an order. Then again, we would do the same thing. We don't need this quit game. So again, drop down the main menu panel. Remember, not the main menu canvas. It would deactivate the whole canvas, just the panel. That's why I told that add your script to your canvas, not the panel. Since the panel would get deactivated at some time, then the script won't work. Again, just fast. Set active bool. Now we want it to get activated and the settings panel to get deactivated. Right? Let's check if it's working or not. Also, what you can do is either write in your script at void start that this panel should be disabled, or just disable it. Right? Disable it from here itself, and while running the game, it won't cause any problem. So now currently we are seeing the main menu. On hitting play, on hitting quitting application working fine. On hitting play, we saw that it was working fine. Now on settings, let's see what happens. You see the main menu here gets highlighted, the settings panel gets highlighted, and the main menu is deactivated. Now let's see if we click the back button, anything happens or not. Again, menu is visible and the settings panel gets deactivated. So this is how we create a simple settings. Now the main menu work is done. Now let's move on to make a pause menu. Save this scene. Now let's work with sample scene. Just unload this. Again, also one mistake that you can make is, for say you haven't disabled this scene and you are creating a canvas for the new scene, right? I'm creating a canvas. Now you see that any difference when I created a canvas here and a canvas there. The thing happens that when there is one event system in a whole bunch of scenes, then if you create another canvas, an event system is not created automatically. You either need to do it manually, or to avoid any such thing, I just unload this scene. And now, okay, I know the scene is not created. If you create a canvas, event system is automatically created. You can always create an event system in here from the UI event system. That's not an issue. Just a mistake that most of us make while making UI. Again, let's reuse some of the previous work. Why waste our energy? Let's name this pause. Menu panel. Let's move it inside. Here some errors are showing. We would fix it in a while. Just rename this main menu to pause menu panel. No, we don't. Go and do this again to remove any confusion. Better change it to pause, or you can write pause menu as per your choice. Now in pause menu, generally we have a resume button, a quit button, or a restart button, right? So we would be making here the same. Let's make it the resume game button. Now the settings button can be renamed as restart button, and the quit button, leave it as quit. So now move to the project. We need to create another C# script, this time for the pause menu. Open this in Visual Studio. Again, remove all of this. Add the, again to save time and reusing the scripts. Pause menu. I will be explaining you the code in a while. First, let me copy this. No issues, fine. So now here what are we doing? At the start, first public static bool is paused false. So we are using this variable just to check if our pause menu is active in the game scene or not. So currently it's set to false, that is the pause menu is not active in the scene, which we want at the start of the game, that the pause menu should be deactivated. Now we are creating a public game object, pause menu UI. Now it would be reference to the pause menu canvas, that panel that we made in here. This panel, we would be referencing the code to this panel. This one. Now public string menu scene game scene. I will tell you the functionality later. Let's move to the void start. At the start, we are deactivating the pause menu canvas. You can also uncheck it in the game scene itself, or you can do it from the script as I told before. You can just write pause menu UI dot set active false. The set active bool function works exactly the same. Now in update, if escape key is pressed, input.get key down, keycode.escape is pressed. Now get to the if condition. If is paused is true. That is this checker that we are using to check if our pause menu was enabled or disabled. If it is enabled, then resume the game, call the resume function, and debug.log, the game is resumed. Just to keep a clarity that it's working fine. In the resume function, the pause menu UI set active is false. The pause menu is again deactivated as the game resumes. The timescale is again restored to 1f, time.timescale. This actually controls the time of your game, like how fast the time is running in your game. So if you set it to 0, that means your game won't run, it will stand still. And setting is paused equals to false. That is the pause menu, again the checker is set to disabled. Now again, let's get back, debug.log, else if is pause is not true, that is the pause menu is not active, that means the player wants to pause the game. So he hit the escape button, then we call the pause function, then just the reverse of this, pause menu UI set active true, that is the pause menu panel gets activated, the timescale gets reduced to 0, that is the game gets to a standstill. If you want some effect in your game as well, that is your game is not time bound, that your time is not getting wasted when you pause a game, then you can do is adjust this to some value like 0.2, 0.3. In that condition, what you will experience is when you pause your game, the behind scene would move and would give a good effect, cinematic effect, like say in the pause menu. Let's reduce the image size a bit. Let's not keep it covering the whole screen. Yes, this much. Move the header down a bit. Okay, so this much area of the game would be visible. Move the alpha down to 0. So when you pause your game, if the elements that would be moving in the background would slow down a bit if you use timescale.0.2 or any value lesser than 1 but greater than 0. But for now, since we want the game to come at a perfect standstill, we are making it 0. And is pause is true. then again getting back. This if an else condition is checked every frame. Now we also have two more functions. That is the restart function. That is when you click the button, the game again restarts. Debug.log restarting game just to display. Then scene manager dot load scene, scene manager get active scene dot build index. Like current, load again the current active scene. The index of the for example, let's say the current active scene is 1. Again we are reloading the same scene. You can also do it from here. Like we have included two strings, right? Menu scene and game scene. In here, it takes the parameters as a string. So this whole is a string. Now, if you want that, we don't know which build index is, or let's say you have multiple levels in your game, and you decided that, let's say you are on the 4th level, but if you restart, you don't restart from the same level, you restart from the first level itself. So then what you can do is just you can remove this and you can take this menu scene and paste it in here. And now whichever scene would you reference in the inspector, that scene would be loaded on pressing the restart. For now we have only one scene, so let's keep it simple. Let's keep restarting the same, but you can do it alternatively like this: the public scene, menu scene and game scene. And menu scene works the same, just that menu scene works for the quit game. Now in the main menu you saw that when we were pressing the quit button, it was quitting the whole application, but in the pause menu we don't want the whole application to quit. We also can include that as well, but generally we want it to return to the main menu of the game. So what are we doing here is debugging.log, quitting game is displayed, scene manager load scene against the active scene -1. That is, if the active scene is 1, then you are loading the 0th scene. Since there is only one scene, 2 scenes in the game, so I am using this to keep things simple. Alternatively, what you can do is you can do the same: copy this menu scene, paste this in here, and assign your menu scene according to your choice, whichever one is. This is more effective when you are using multiple scenes in your level. Else, this is the best way, just to increment or decrement the index of the screen that you have included in the build setting. Again, remember, every time, don't forget to add this time.timescale equals 1, so that whenever you resume the game, you can see here, the time is restored to the normal game time. Else, when you restart the game, the effect of the pause menu will still be in work and your game would not move. It would come to a standstill. So include this in both the functions, quit game as well as this, and set is pause to false as we want. Now save this code. Let's get back to Unity. Again, as I told, best way is to add the script to the canvas itself, not the panels. Now you can see these two empty strings that would, now here in the menu scene, our menu is named as menu UI. Just type in matching the cases. Remember, match the exact cases, menu UI. So we are not using actually that in the code, but if we used just write this menu UI and reference it to the menu UI, then menu UI would be loaded, and the game scene is sample scene. Can we rename the scene? Leave it. Let's name it sample scene. Okay, so this would be the alternative way when you are using multiple scenes. Now let's see if it works or not. Hope it works. Okay, it won't work. I have not included in the button. Too much haste. Again. We want the game to resume. So pause menu class, resume. The function we created. The setting, okay, I haven't changed the name here. Change resume. This was restart. This was quit. I'll leave it quit. So what resume would do is pause menu resume, right? Restart. We don't want two functions here. We want only one. Pause menu can extract this. Pause menu, restart function. And for the quit, again, this one, and pause menu, quit game function. Let's see if it works now. We have default at the start, if you remember. This is at the start. We have disabled this at the start, so it should get disabled on its own. Else, you can also disable in here in the inspector itself. Let's keep it enabled to see if the script is working fine or not. Hit play. It's not working fine. What is the error? Anyone? You see, the variable pause menu UI has not been assigned. In the code, if you look at carefully, we have made a public game object pause menu UI. So now this is getting disabled when we are calling the start function, but we haven't assigned it yet. That's why it's showing an error. So now we need to assign it. No, none game object is assigned. So just move the panel. Remember, not the canvas, the panel, to this one, and hope now it should work fine. You see, the pause menu is disabled. Now when I hit escape, I think it should get enabled. Yes, it works. You see the buttons are interacting. For resuming, again, the game has resumed. Console, right, pause. When I hit this, you see, Pause. Now when restarting, it's displaying restarting game, and again scene is loaded. Now when quitting, it moves back to the main menu as we wanted, and also displaying quitting game. So our two menus are done, the main menu and the settings menu, as well as the pause menu. Now only thing left is the game over menu or the finish level menu. So for that, let's do it in the same panel, I guess. Did I make it in the same panel? Main scene. Yes, I made it in the same panel. Best way to optimize it. Best way again, duplicate the panels and remove the components you don't want and keep the components you would be reusing. It would save a lot of time. This is game over, right? For the moment, we disabled the pause so as to avoid any confusion. In the game over scene, what you need is a quit game that would return to the main menu or a restart button. You don't require a resume button, so I am deleting this. Now we already have the restart in the pause menu and the quit game in the pause menu. Else, what we can do is we can also create another script, game over, and then we can assign, let's create one. Open this in Visual Studio. In here, I have included some more function that we won't be using currently, but it will surely help in your game if you want to end a certain level. Like, again, referencing the level complete UI that would enable or disable the UI panel of the game over menu. At the start, it's set to false, just like the pause menu. In the update, now since I have not made a game so as to work, therefore I am assigning it to the enter button. Whenever I press enter, the game over menu would come and get displayed, and debug.log works, and then the complete level function would be called from there. Else, in a real game, you want the game over scene to be displayed either when the player is dead or he completes the level, right? So for that, I have included this in comments since we are not using it. Private void on trigger enter, a function on trigger enter that has a collider object. The collider object is basically, you would create a game object in here, let's say cube, and disable its mesh renderer so that the player cannot see when it's hitting there, and you can move that cube to the end of your game so as to keep it as a mark. Whenever your player hits that mark or reaches that mark, the trigger would get activated, and from there the function complete level would be called. Here we are doing the same thing just by pressing the enter key, whereas we would be doing the same thing by comparing the player tag. Here the other compare tag, whose player tag is player, that is, you are assigning your player a tag that whenever the player hits that mark, then only the game menu works. Else you can say the enemy moves that mark, then it won't work. Only when the player hits the finish mark, then only the complete level is activated. So that's a function for this. We won't be requiring it here since we don't have a game currently. Then in the complete level, this function is called. Just debug something so that to see that it's working fine. Level complete UI set active true. The game menu is enabled. Game over menu is enabled. Again, time scale is set to 0. And here the various options that we have. The restart, that is for restarting game. Scene manager load scene. Again, the same thing, restarting the same or the other one that you can do. Just like the pause menu, you can add this public string into this script as well, and then assign your required level from where you want to restart your game when it's over. And again, a function back to menu that is the same as quit game. So this is the extra thing that I wanted to tell you. Else we could have used the pause menu itself. We don't require the game over menu and game over script in our case, but in general we do require a separate game over script. So for now, let's get back to Unity. In the pause menu canvas, add the component of the game over script as well. Since we are fine with our menu script for the game over, let's leave that. Restarts the game, quits the game. We can use the game over class as well, but the pause menu is working fine. Let's check if game over is working fine or not. So this is the quit. So back to menu function. This is the restart. So game over class, restart function. Else you could have gone with the pause menu as well. Now let's see if it's working or not. Save the scene. First of all, both the pause menu, yes. So here you can see none, is assigned, so we need to assign this game over panel in here. Now it should work fine. You see, by default, nothing is displayed. When I hit the escape, the pause menu is displayed. Let's check it once more. Quitting game, play again, hit escape, resumes the game, hit escape, restarts the game, hit escape, resumes the game. On hitting enter, we should see the game over screen. You see, game over screen. Now on hitting restart, we should again see the same, restarting game, again the scene is loaded. On hitting enter, quit, returning to menu, So all the menu UI, the pause menu UI and the game over menu UI working fine. Let's check the settings is also working fine. So this is how you create a basic UI.